The mother opened her daughter's room door in the middle of the night, and she burst into tears when, "Hello everyone. Enjoy these relaxing moments." While you watch evening, Ella came home late after an exhausting work shift. She hurriedly prepared a simple dinner and sat down to wait for Lily to come back from her piano class while eating. Ella kept staring at her phone, waiting for a message from her daughter. She frowned slightly when she saw the clock strike 8 p.m., and Lily still hadn't returned a message popped up. "Mom, Mr. Michael said today's piano class will run an extra half hour and I'll be a bit late." Ella quickly replied, "Okay, but come home soon, sweetheart, it's already dark." She sighed, her brow furrowing involuntarily at the mention of Michael. Lately, Lily had been spending more and more time at Mr. Michael's piano class, a 45-year-old music teacher who had recently started working at the small nearby art school. Suddenly, the front door opened and Lily stepped into the house. The girl glanced around the room, her eyes a bit tense. "You're back? Why did class end so late tonight?" Ella asked gently. Mr. Michael wanted us to practice a new piece." "I'm sorry for coming home late." "It's all right. Come eat dinner, then get some rest." "Okay, I'm not hungry, Mom. I'm feeling a little tired. I'll just go to my room." Lily quickly headed upstairs, leaving her mother standing there looking on with confusion. 2 a.m. A soft noise stirred Ella from her exhausted sleep. Rain had started to fall, heavy drops tapping against the window pane. Stepping out into the hallway, she noticed a light leaking out from under Lily's bedroom door. "Lily, why are you still up? Are you okay?" She knocked softly. No answer. Worried, Ella pushed the door open. What she saw made her heart freeze. Lily was sitting in front of her computer, headphones. On the screen was Michael, the familiar, middle-aged man, smiling. His voice was soft and sweet, but disturbingly strange. "My dear Lily, you know how much I miss you? I just wish you were here with me right now." As soon as Michael noticed Ella standing in the doorway, he panicked and quickly ended the call. The screen went black. Ella stood frozen, her hands trembling. "Lily, what is going on? Why is Mr. Michael calling you at this hour?" Lily spun around in fear, yanking off her headphones. "Mom, Ella rushed over, kneeling in front of her daughter, her face full of panic but trying to stay calm. "Lily, tell me, what are you hiding from me?" Lily began to shake, tears streaming down her young face. "I'm sorry, Mom. Mr. Michael told me not to tell anyone. I don't know what to do anymore. You need to tell me everything right now." "Since when? Why didn't you say anything?" I couldn't. Mom, I was scared." Ella's voice trembled, her heart aching. "Scared of what, Lily? Please tell me." Lily broke down crying, her trembling hands trying to wipe away her tears. "He said that if I told anyone, everyone would hate me, that you would be mad at me, that you wouldn't love me anymore." Ella wrapped her arms tightly around her daughter, pain and fury flooding her chest. "My poor girl, why would you think that no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you? Why didn't you trust me?" Lily sobbed harder. "He said it was our secret. He said he really cared about me, that it was real love. But I've been so scared, Mom, so tired." Ella held Lily tighter, each word stabbing into her like a knife. "Listen to me. Lily, this is not love. This is manipulation, deception. You are not to blame. Do you hear me?" Lily shook, barely whispering. "But I'm so scared, Mom. I don't know what to do." Ella clutched her daughter close, trying to contain the rising anger and despair burning inside her. "Lily, my sweet girl, from now on, you're not allowed to contact him anymore. Understand? I will protect you. No one will hurt you again." "Yes, Mom, but I'm so scared of him." Ella looked deep into her daughter's eyes, her voice firm but trembling. "I swear to you, Lily, I won't let him hurt you ever again, even if I have to sacrifice everything outside the window." The rain fell harder. Ella held her daughter tightly in her arms, rage burning in her chest, fear thickening the air around them in the darkness. Ella sat motionless on the bed, Lily curled up in her arms. The suffocating tension left them both speechless. Time felt frozen. The only sound, the steady rhythm of rain tapping on the window. Ella gently stroked Lily's hair, trying to soothe her. Though her mind kept racing through everything she just heard, Lily's words had cut her to the core. Mr. Michael, the teacher she once trusted, was a monster. She couldn't understand how a music teacher could so deeply harm the soul of a child. A fragile girl like Lily. "Mom, I'm really scared," Lily whispered, still crying in her mother's arms. "I won't let anyone hurt you ever again, my sweet girl. I promise you." Ella forced the words out, her arms tightening around her daughter as if to shield her from the world. After a while, Lily stopped crying, though tears still clung to her lashes. She looked up at her mom, her eyes full of confusion and fear. Mr. Michael? He started talking to me through social media. I didn't know what to do, Mom. He said it was our secret. If I told anyone, he'd tell people I was a bad girl. Lily spoke in a weak voice, as if even saying the words made her more afraid. Ella couldn't believe her ears. Mr. Michael, the man she had trusted to teach her daughter to love music now. A predator who had manipulated and preyed on her. What exactly did he do to you? You need to tell me everything. I can't let this continue. Ella's voice was filled with pain, but resolute. I don't know what to do. Mom, I'm scared, Lily sobbed, burying her face in her mother's chest. My darling girl, this is not your fault. I won't let Mr. Michael hurt you again. Do you understand? Ella said, gently stroking her daughter's hair, though fury boiled beneath her skin. Lily looked up at her mother, eyes still full of tears. I don't even know where to start, Mr. Michael. He always said sweet things to me. He said, I was special. I didn't think it was wrong. I just thought he liked me. I understand now. That's how he controlled you, right? Ella said, cutting in gently, her eyes filled with fierce resolve. He made you feel important, made you believe it was real love, but it's not love. Lily, it's manipulation. It's psychological abuse. You are not at fault. Lily remained silent, but a flicker of hope began to appear on her face. She looked at her mother, her eyes seeming to find a glimmer of light in the darkness. Mom, I'm scared, but I want this to end. I want Mr. Michael to pay for what he did, Lily whispered. Her hands clenched tightly together. Ella gently caressed her daughter, the fury burning inside her beyond words. She knew she wouldn't stop until Michael was held accountable for his actions. I promise you, Lily, I won't let Mr. Michael get away with this. I'll show you that no one can violate you without facing consequences. You've been so brave, and I'll help you stand back up, Ella whispered, holding her daughter tightly in her arms. The rain outside continued to pour, but in the dark, quiet room, the light of trust and love between mother and daughter had begun to shine. Ella woke up late the next morning. After a sleepless night, she felt exhausted, but more importantly, she needed to figure out how to help her daughter the night before. After Lily had fallen asleep, Ella had sat in silence in the dark, unable to shake the words her daughter had said. Ella knew that Lily's life would never be the same again. This pain, like an unhealing wound, gnawed at her mind. But if she didn't act now, that pain would linger forever. She had to rise and do something to end it all. She quickly got out of bed, pulled on a light coat, and began planning her next steps. Today, she would no longer sit in silence. She was going to seek justice for her daughter. Arriving at the school, Ella asked to meet Lily's homeroom teacher. She couldn't wait another day. It wasn't easy to bypass those trying to protect the silence, but she was ready to do whatever it took. Excuse me, I need to speak with my daughter Lily's homeroom teacher, Ella said as she entered the teacher's lounge. Good morning. Is there something wrong? The teacher stood up. Her voice serious, Ella could sense concern in her tone, but she didn't have the patience for formalities. I need to speak to Mr. Michael. I need information about him immediately, Ella said, her voice trembling but firm. The teacher looked at her eyes wide with surprise, silent for a long moment. Could you be more specific? Mr. Michael is a well-regarded teacher at this school. Did something happen? The teacher asked clearly. Confused, Mr. Michael is not just a good teacher. He's a predator. He harmed my daughter. He manipulated and groomed her online. I want to find him now, Ella shouted, her hands clenched tightly. The teacher's expression turned more serious. Mr. Michael resigned last week. He hasn't returned to school, and no specific reason was given. The teacher couldn't offer any more help. Ella felt hope draining from her. Her worst fears were confirmed. He was no longer at the school and she couldn't get any assistance from the education system. Ella decided to go straight to the police. She couldn't wait any longer. Within an hour, she arrived at the police station hoping things could finally move forward. She explained everything to the officer on duty. He nodded and began taking notes. "Well, document your report, ma'am, but we need more concrete evidence. We can't proceed without verified proof," the officer said. His voice cold. Ella stood there, stunned by what she just heard. A crushing wave of disappointment rose within her. No clear evidence. They were asking her to prove something that even she struggled to comprehend. Michael's actions had been so calculated and manipulative. How could a mother prove her daughter was abused when the girl herself barely understood what had been done to her? She left the police station, her body weak from despair. She walked through the dark streets of Seattle, her feet dragging, drained of energy when she returned home. Ella opened the door and found Lily sitting on her bed staring blankly out the window. The girl no longer looked like the daughter she once knew since Lily had revealed the truth about Michael. Everything had changed. Ella sat beside her daughter, her gaze soft but resolute. "Lily, I'm going to do everything I can to protect you. I'm not giving up." "But Mom, what do we do now?" Lily asked, her voice full of confusion. "I already went to the police. I'm going to keep digging and collecting evidence. I won't let Mr. Michael get away with this," Ella said, her heart breaking inside but still clinging to the belief that she was doing the right thing. "Mom, but I'm so scared. I'm scared of what he might do to us," Lily said. Her voice shaking, Ella held her daughter's hand, gently comforting her. "I will protect you. You have to trust me, Lily." Lily stayed quiet, her eyes clouded, still unsure if she could believe her mother's words, but even so, in that moment, she began to feel a small glimmer of hope. Ella decided to reach out to one of the schools where Michael had previously taught. They informed her that he had left after a few suspicious incidents involving students. She met with a former staff member named Alexandra, who had worked there for a long time. At first, Alexandra seemed reluctant to talk about Michael, but after some conversation, she finally began to open up. He wasn't just a regular teacher. Things started getting weird when one of the girls reported inappropriate behavior, Alexandra whispered, glancing around as if to make sure no one was listening. Ella felt a sudden jolt of shock. Alexandra's words chilled her, so Michael hadn't left for normal reasons. He had left under suspicion. The sweet talk, the grooming. It all unfolded before Ella's eyes. He hadn't just manipulated Lily. He might have done this to other children too. "Do you know if he's taught anywhere else?" Ella asked, her voice tight. "He worked at 3 other schools. Every time something happened, he left without a trace. No one knows where he goes next," Alexandra replied. A wave of confusion and despair slammed into Ella's heart. She stood up, thanked Alexandra, and quickly left the school. She couldn't take it anymore. He had hurt too many and she wouldn't let him keep running next. Ella decided to search for information through other sources. She began combing through articles and online posts about Michael, hoping to find something that would help build a case while scrolling through social media. She stumbled upon another mother named Arya, whose daughter had also been targeted by Michael. A mix of worry and hope welled up in her. She immediately contacted Arya and arranged to meet. When they met, Ella couldn't hold back her emotions. Arya was a woman who had lived through the same nightmare. They sat down and shared their stories. Arya explained that her daughter Zoe had been manipulated by Michael when she was in the 8th grade. "I know what you're feeling, Ella. My daughter went through the same thing. Michael made her believe it was love, that he was the only one who truly understood her," Arya said, her voice lowering as painful memories flooded back. "But couldn't you do anything?" Ella asked, her voice nearly breaking. "We tried reporting it to the police, but we didn't have enough evidence. My daughter deleted all the messages and pictures. We only had a short video of one call with Michael, but even that wasn't enough to prove what he did," Arya said, her face full of disappointment. Ella bit her lip, unable to hold back her anger. These children had been cruelly manipulated and the system had failed them. "What do we do now?" Ella asked, her voice laced with growing determination. Arya was silent for a moment, then said, "I think we need to find the other girls, the ones he tricked too. Together, we might be able to bring him down." Ella nodded, her resolve stronger than ever. She would not let him get away back home. Ella began going through Lily's phone, She found some old conversations that Lily hadn't yet deleted messages from Michael's suite. On the surface, but filled with danger, stabbed her in the heart. She didn't hesitate. She began collecting all the evidence she could find, the text messages, the saved images, even audio clips from Lily's wireless headphones that had been left connected by accident. Ella felt that things were beginning to move forward. It wasn't enough, not yet, but it was a solid starting point for the battle ahead. She decided to turn all of it into the police and continue working with Arya and the other mothers who had been through the same pain she now lived with. That evening, when Lily got home from school, Ella was ready to talk. "Lily, I found the messages from Mr. Michael. I know everything now, but I won't let him hurt you again, I promise." Ella said, her eyes firm. Lily looked at her mother, fear in her eyes, but also a flicker of hope. "Mom, I'm so scared," Lily said, her voice trembling. "You don't have to be scared anymore. You don't have to live in the dark," Ella replied, gently stroking her daughter's back in that moment. Ella knew her daughter would not have to face this alone. She would fight not just for Lily, but for every child Michael had deceived. Ella couldn't forget what Arya had said. "We need to find other girls he's manipulated." That was her next goal. She couldn't let him keep hiding with each day. Lily's fear grew, and Ella knew that only action could restore her daughter's safety and trust in the world. The next day, Ella pressed on with her investigation. She started reaching out to other parents, but she never expected the shock that would come from someone she once trusted, a chance encounter with an old friend. Officer Grace put Ella in a situation she hadn't anticipated. Ella was walking down a street in Seattle when she ran into Officer Grace, a longtime friend. Grace spotted her from afar, smiling brightly as she jogged up to greet her. "Ella, oh my God, it's been ages. How are you, officer?" Grace said, excited. "Hey Grace, I'm okay. It's just..." Ella hesitated. She didn't want to open up about the painful situation right away, but looking into Grace's genuinely concerned eyes, she couldn't hold it back any longer. "There's been some trouble, my daughter Lily. She was hurt by a teacher. I'm trying to deal with it." Officer Grace's expression changed, eyes wide with shock. "Oh no, seriously? I can't believe that. What teacher?" Ella looked at, her fury rising again in her chest. "Michael, the music teacher. I can't believe he did this. I've already found out he left 3 schools before this with no clear reason, and now he's vanished." Officer Grace paused, then looked more serious. "Michael, I've heard whispers about him. People said he was strange, but no one knew the whole story the next day at a cafe. Do you have any new information?" Ella asked, her voice low and tense. Arya nodded, a spark in her eyes. "Actually, my daughter Zoe had a video. It's an old recording of a call with Michael. She didn't want to keep it, but after hearing what you said, I think we can use it as evidence." Ella clutched her hands together, her heart pounding with excitement. Finally, she had found a key piece to the puzzle. "Thank you, Arya. That video is exactly what I needed. We'll take it to the police right away," Ella said, her voice filled with determination. After receiving the video from Arya, Ella rushed to the police station. She had no more patience for delays. She presented the video to the officer, who quietly watched it, then gave her a response that felt like a stone sinking in her chest. "We'll examine this video and determine if it can be used as evidence. However, you need to understand, we can't arrest Michael based on this video alone." Ella felt her heart sink. Why did everything have to be this hard? She had done all she could, piecing together everything. But was it enough to bring Michael to justice the next day while Ella was tangled in legal paperwork? Lily received a strange message from a hidden account, even though her mother had warned her to avoid any contact with Michael. Lily felt panic and dread rise as she read the threatening words. "If you don't stay quiet, your mother will pay the price." The message terrified Lily. She immediately blocked the account, but the fear lingered in her chest. Her mother couldn't protect her. Forever, Michael's threats haunted her like a ghost. When Ella found out, she nearly lost control. Once again, she took her daughter and fled to her sister's house for a few days, but the fire inside her was growing. Michael had not only hurt Lily, he was now threatening their lives. "Mom, what are we going to do now?" "I'm so scared," Lily asked, her voice shaking as she sat on the couch, eyes locked onto her mother. "No one's going to hurt you, Lily. We're not giving up," Ella said, her voice firm, even though her heart throbbed with fury and fear. Ella looked at Lily, her eyes reflecting a determination that would never waver. She knew Michael would pay for what he'd done. Nothing would stop her. She couldn't sleep that night. Anger and fear refused to let her rest. Later that evening, as Ella sat watching the video, Arya had provided her phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. A chill ran down her spine as she thought it could be Michael, but instead of answering, she blocked the number and returned to her work. She couldn't let him derail her plan. Once the call ended, Ella refocused on the evidence she had gathered. Each piece was disturbing but important. She now had video messages and testimonies from Arya and other parents. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness. The police wanted more, but would what she had be enough to bring Michael to justice? The next morning, as Ella was getting Lily ready to return to school, she received another message. This time, it wasn't from a hidden account, but from a registered phone number. You're being watched. If you don't stay quiet, something bad will happen. Ella felt a storm crashing inside her. This wasn't just a vague threat anymore. It was a real warning. From here on, things could get dangerous. He didn't just want silence. He wanted to break her, force her to give up. She couldn't wait any longer. She had to do something to protect Lily. There was no way she'd let Michael hurt her daughter again. Lily, what should we do? Ella asked, her voice filled with worry as she looked into her daughter's terrified eyes. Lily was still shaken from everything that had happened, but deep down, she knew there was only one way out of this nightmare. They had to face the truth. The police asked Ella to come in again to clarify the case. The officer listened carefully but couldn't hide his skeptical expression as he watched the video and examined the evidence Ella provided. Are you sure this video is of Michael? It could be someone else. We'll need to verify this thoroughly. The officer said, his face unconvinced. Ella felt crushed, but she couldn't give up. She explained every detail to the officer, but a heavy sense of powerlessness crept in. Michael was no longer within their reach, and all the evidence she had gathered seemed insufficient to accelerate the investigation. You've done everything you can, but without clear information, it'll be difficult for us to intervene right away, the officer said, his voice sympathetic but still cold. Ella wanted to scream, but she knew this wasn't the time for it. There was nothing more she could do except wait patiently for the help of the law that night. As Ella was on her way back home, she received a phone call from an unknown number. This time, she didn't hesitate. She answered immediately. Hello, Ella. I'm sure you've received the threatening messages by now. What do you think you can possibly do to stop me? The voice on the other end was cold, emotionless. It felt like a slap across the face. Ella froze. She recognized it immediately. It was Michael. He was toying with her, testing her limits. You think you're going to get away with this, Michael? I won't let you. You won't hurt my daughter anymore, Ella said, her voice trembling but resolute. You can say whatever you want, Ella, but the truth is, you can't touch me. I'll always be there, watching you and your daughter too, until you realize the smart thing to do is stay silent. Michael laughed, his voice dripping with mockery. Hearing those words, Ella felt her body freeze, but almost instantly rage ignited inside her. No, she wouldn't let him keep terrorizing her. And Lily, you won't win. Michael, you will pay for what you've done. I'm not backing down, Ella said firmly. The call abruptly ended, but Michael's words still echoed in her mind. Ella, we can do this. Zoe has agreed to testify and provide another video, Arya said over the phone, her voice full of hope. Ella sighed with relief. The tension in her chest seemed to loosen a bit, but she knew this was only the beginning. One video alone wouldn't bring Michael to justice. She needed more. She needed support from others, and Arya had helped connect her with a group of other parents whose daughters had also been victimized by Michael. We have to stand together. The more victims that speak out, the easier it'll be to prosecute, Arya continued. Her voice calm but resolute, Ella felt a surge of renewed energy. She was no longer alone in this fight. The other mother's women, who had suffered the same pain, were also ready to stand up and face Michael. The next day, Ella met the group of parents at a cafe. They sat together, each of them carrying their own story. Their faces were lined with worry, but also with determination. None of them wanted to let the predator go free. "We can't let him walk," said a woman named Nora, her eyes blazing. "My daughter Madison was manipulated by him too. He made her believe what he was doing was normal, that it was love." Ella looked around at the women surrounding her. They weren't weak. They were warriors, mothers who had fought for their children. They were no longer afraid, they were ready to confront the truth. "We won't stop until Michael is held accountable," Ella said, her voice strong after the meeting. Ella felt like a fire had been lit inside her. She knew she couldn't back down. Now, it was time for decisive action. She filed an official complaint with the court, including all the evidence she had collected, videos, messages, and testimonies from the victims. She hoped that this time things would finally change. The next day, the police contacted Ella to inform her that they had received the complaint and would proceed with further investigation. Officer Grace, now in charge of the case, gave her an update over the phone. "We'll start tracking down Michael. Thank you for providing crucial evidence. It'll take some time, but we won't give up," Officer Grace said. Ella felt a faint glimmer of hope things were finally moving in the right direction. Still, she knew that despite the progress, danger was still close. Michael could still find ways to escape. A few days later, the police discovered that Michael had been contacting a new student in another town. He was still running, still hiding, but now they had enough information to act. Officer Grace organized a sting operation. "This is our last chance to catch him. We're preparing. Everything he won't get away," Officer Grace told Ella during the call. Ella felt exhausted, but she knew everything she had done was worth it. She couldn't quit now. Not after coming this far that morning. Ella and the other parents sat together waiting for news from the police. They were nervous, unsure if Michael would be captured, but they knew one thing for certain. They had fought with everything they had stood up to protect their children and refused to let a criminal like Michael roam free. Just a few hours later, the news finally came. Michael had been arrested while trying to contact a new student through an online learning app. Ella couldn't believe her ears. She let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. But along with the relief came a rush of rage and pain. For everything Michael had done, the police seized Michael's computer along with messages, videos, and evidence related to his crimes. At the same time, other victims began coming forward, joining the investigation and helping clarify the full scope of the abuse. Ella felt as if the door to justice had finally opened. The day of Michael's trial arrived. Ella, Lily, Arya, and Zoe all stood together in the courtroom. Each one of them stood tall, no one backing down. They each had a reason to speak out to protect themselves and other children from Michael's abuse as they stepped into the courtroom. Tension filled the air, witnesses were present, and the group of parents and victims were ready to testify. Ella felt a tightness in her chest, but she knew she couldn't stop now. Michael wore a dark suit, his expression cold, as if nothing had happened, but Ella could see something in his eyes and overconfidence that she couldn't quite describe. He looked as if he still believed he'd get away with it. Does the defendant have anything to say? The judge asked, his gaze stern as he looked at Michael. Michael didn't respond immediately. He looked around the room, then finally spoke in a calm voice. "I didn't do anything wrong. These accusations are fabricated. I was simply teaching my students, sharing my knowledge and passion for music." His words stirred outrage in the courtroom. Some parents began murmuring in protest, while Lily and the other victims sat silently, eyes burning with anger. They would not let him escape justice. Their voices had finally been heard, and they were no longer afraid. "I can't believe he can say that," Arya whispered to Ella. Ella didn't respond. Her anger was boiling inside her. He was lying right in front of everyone, but everything he said only made his guilt more obvious. The judge continued the hearing. "Miss Lily, would you be willing to share what happened to you?" Lily stood up and walked to the stand, clutching her written statement. She looked directly at Michael. Her eyes no longer held fear. She was ready. She didn't want to live in the dark anymore. "Mr. Michael groomed me through social media. He told me it was love. But I felt afraid every time he spoke to me. He told me to keep it a secret, said my mom would be angry if I told anyone," Lily said, her voice gentle but firm. "I was scared, but my mom kept telling me I wasn't at fault. She helped me see that it wasn't love. He's a liar." Lily's words struck Michael like lightning. He stood frozen, unable to look her in the eye. One by one, the other victims took the stand. each sharing their stories of psychological abuse at Michael's hands. Their testimonies painted a clear and damning picture of his crimes. Michael tried to defend himself, but everything he said was meaningless. The evidence was there. The witnesses had spoken, and there was no denying that he was guilty. Finally, the judge delivered the verdict. The defendant, Michael, is sentenced to 12 years in prison for psychological abuse, threatening minors, and defamation via online communication. The courtroom fell silent for a moment. Then slowly people stood and began to applaud a collective confirmation that justice had been served. Michael, the man who had stolen the safety and happiness of so many children, would now have to face the consequences of what he had done after the trial ended. Ella walked out hand in hand with Lily. She felt a relief unlike anything she had ever known. Although her daughter still carried the pain within her today, at least she could begin to live her life again, no longer in fear. "Mom, thank you. I feel so relieved he's finally paying for what he did," Lily said, her voice full of emotion. "I'm so proud of you, Lily. You were so brave, I know you won't have to suffer anymore," Ella replied. Her eyes filled with love and pride. The two of them walked out without saying another word. But both felt the sense of liberation deep in their hearts. They had fought, and they had won Michael. That vile man would now face justice, and finally, justice had prevailed. Ella and Lily sat together in their small home, a place that once held only the shadows of old pain. But today was different. Today was a day when fear no longer ruled them. Lily sat beside her mother, her eyes bright with resolve. She was no longer the confused child who suffered in silence today. She was a warrior, and today she would begin again. "Mom, I'm not scared anymore. I finally did it," Lily said, her voice steady, her eyes full of confidence. Ella looked at her daughter and smiled gently with each passing day. The joy in life slowly returned. Though the wounds wouldn't heal overnight, they had at least confronted the truth, and that was the most important step. "I will always be proud of you. You fought and you won. I know you'll be stronger than ever," Ella said gently. Brushing Lily's hair, Lily looked at her mother, no longer burdened by the fears that had once gripped her. Every step she took now felt lighter, no longer weighed down by the ghosts of the past. She looked out the window where the first rays of sunlight were breaking through the darkness, and it felt as though the whole world belonged to her. Weeks later, Lily returned to school. She no longer felt alienated by the looks of her classmates' looks that had once made her feel like an outcast, but now everything had changed. Lily was no longer afraid. She walked down the school hallway step by step, no longer worried about whispers or judgment. When Lily walked into class, her teacher welcomed her with a warm smile. Her classmates looked at her kindly, and it seemed as if everything had returned to normal. But for Lily, nothing was the same. She knew she had changed. She wasn't who she used to be. She had overcome her past, and now she was someone stronger, no longer held down by fear. "Hi, Lily. How are you feeling today?" the teacher asked gently. "I feel much better." "Thank you," Lily replied with a smile. Her eyes shining the weight of the past lifted away each day that passed. Lily returned to the things she loved. She resumed her piano lessons, but this time with a new teacher, someone who had once been a victim of a similar experience and had found healing through music. Lily's new teacher was a source of inspiration, teaching not only notes and rhythm, but also self-love and how to face life's challenges. "I'm going to write a new song," Lily told her teacher one day during practice. "That's wonderful. Lily, this song could be a big step forward in your journey," the teacher replied, her voice full of encouragement. Lily began writing lyrics about strength, about overcoming fear, and finding light in the darkest moments. The song was called "No More Fear," and it became her declaration of a new beginning as the school festival approached. Lily finished her song. She decided to perform it on that day as a way of declaring that she had overcome all the terrible things she had experienced. She was no longer a frightened child, but a growing young woman, confident in everything she had been through and everything she had become. On the day of the performance, when Lily stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the auditorium. The lights shone down on her as she began to sing. The melody was soft and powerful, the lyrics even more so. Each note was a statement of freedom and strength. Each word carried healing. "I am strong, I am free. No more fear inside of me." Lily sang her heart out, and when the final note faded, the whole auditorium erupted in applause. Ella, sitting in the front row, looked up at her daughter with eyes full of pride. Her little girl had stood up, had fought, and had overcome it all. After the performance, Lily's classmates came to congratulate her. They didn't just praise her talent, they admired her strength. Lily was no longer isolated. She had proven that strength isn't only about big, heroic gestures. It's in the courage to stand up again after every fall months. Later, Ella joined a support group for mothers of children who had experienced abuse. She wanted to help other mothers recognize the warning signs and learn how to fight to protect their children. Ella met many mothers in the group, and every story reminded her that she was not alone. These parents, like her, all carried pain and hope. One day, as Ella was talking with another mother, she felt a deep connection. She realized that even though she had lived through darkness, she could now share her story and help others. "My daughter made it through. She found herself again. I know not everyone gets that chance, but if we stand together, we can help one another." Ella shared her voice filled with compassion. Those words didn't just comfort the other mother. They helped Ella realize that she had found something meaningful through all the pain justice had been served. And although the past would always be part of their lives, they were no longer afraid. This story brings a powerful message about the strength of courage and resilience. Despite facing fear and pain, the main characters Ella and her daughter Lily showed that true strength doesn't just come from defeating the wrongdoers, but from facing the truth, speaking up, and finding support in others. They proved that silence is not the answer, and that with unity and determination, healing and justice are possible. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.